MMA is a versatile sport. You can see fights go of a distance or end in just a few seconds before you even know it started. I'm sure we can all appreciate a good 5-round war, but in today's day and age, sometimes we only have time for one round. So that's why we're counting down our top 5 favorite one-round fights. That is to say that the entire fight takes place in 1 round or less, so not just counting the best rounds out of longer fights. But first, some honorable mentions. Andrei Arlovski vs Travis Browne, UFC 187. Matt Hughes vs Frank Trigg 2, UFC 52. Robbie Lawler vs Melvin Manhoef, Strikeforce Miami. And with the honorable mentions out of the way, let's get into the real list and the number 5 spot. Fedor Emelianenko vs Dan Henderson, Strikeforce, Fedor vs Henderson. Despite the mystique of Fedor Emelianenko being somewhat gone, as he'd at this point lost 2 fights in Strikeforce already, this was a huge fight at what was also a pretty stellar event. As soon as the opening bell rang, these two just went at it, throwing caution out the window and swinging wildly as if the nations of Russia and the United States were actually competing for power. Fedor eventually rocked Hendo, but the American managed to recover and add some hard punches in the grappling exchange that ensued, knocking Fedor out and winning him the fight, which is one of Strikeforce's all-time best. Number 4. Frank Mir vs Minotauro Nogueira, UFC 140. When it comes to brutal finishes in MMA, most people think knockouts, which is understandable, but considering bone breaks, Frank Mir is definitely a brutal submission artist. Upon rematching his rival, Antonio Minotauro Nogueira at UFC 140, it looked like the Brazilian was going to finish via a devastating knockout. Somehow though, Mir survived the onslaught, cleared out the cobwebs, and managed to slap on a submission on the BJJ black belt, which Nogueira refused to tap to. As we in the community know, if you don't tap, it might snap, and that was exactly what happened. This was a crazy finish to an even crazier fight that will definitely go down in history, as Mir was so close to being knocked out himself before managing to slap on the Kimura grip that finished the fight. Number 3. Diego Brandao vs Dennis Bermudez, The Ultimate Fighter 14 finale. This is a criminally underrated fight that is all action from start to finish. Diego Brandao and Dennis Bermudez made it to the finals of a featherweight tournament and did not disappoint when they finally collided. The fighters clashed with wild exchanges, dropping each other multiple times and going for strikes, slams, and everything in between. It was flat out hectic and one of the most exciting rounds you'll ever see. It was a pretty close fight before Brandao managed to catch an armbar with just 9 seconds left to the first round. If you haven't seen this fight, then you've definitely missed out. This is high-level action for almost an entire round, well worth the number 3 spot. Number 2. Cheick Kongo vs Pat Barry, UFC on Versus 4. Heavyweights Cheick Kongo and Pat Barry would meet in the main event of UFC on Versus 4 in a fight that is pretty much legendary at this point. About halfway through the fight, Barry would land a devastating shot that sent Frenchman Kongo crashing to the ground. One wonders if Kongo had a video game style extra life in his shorts, because Barry continued to maul Kongo, even to the point of commentator Joe Rogan declaring it's over, as Kongo got brutally dropped again. However, after consuming that extra life, Kongo got back to his feet somehow and landed a counter that knocked Barry out cold, in one of the greatest comebacks in the history of MMA and the number 2 spot on this list. Number 1. Nick Diaz vs Paul Daley, Strikeforce, Diaz vs Daley. Oh, this fight is the stuff of legends. These two fan favorites collided in the Strikeforce main event as British knockout artist Paul Daley would challenge Diaz, the then Strikeforce welterweight champion, for the title. Despite Diaz having a significant advantage on the ground, he elected to only use his striking against Daley, who got the better of the earlier exchanges, even dropping Diaz at one point. However, with that Stockton toughness that only the Diaz brothers truly possess, he managed to recover, get up, and then unload a savage combination of strikes on Daley, who crumbled to the ground, ending the fight with just 3 seconds left of the opening round. Diaz's stock would rise exponentially after this bout. The fight is one of his career-defining moments, and for me anyway, it's the best one-round fight of all time. So that's our list. If you've got a different one, by all means let us know what it is in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to MMAnytt, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.